Still a lot to discuss in the fallout from yesterday's press conferences at Halas Hall. CHGO Bears starts right now. Welcome into the CHGO Bears Podcast on this Tuesday in Chicago, and still a lot of fallout from yesterday's press conferences. The Bears are off today before getting back in the building and starting their work week tomorrow for what might be a winnable game against the San Francisco 49ers. Adam Hoge, Mark Carman, Greg Braggs Jr. with you, and we got a lot to discuss on today's show from the press conferences yesterday, and Cole Kmet is going to join us on the show. In advance, we still got the 85 coming your way tonight, but we got Cole on today's show as well for a segment, so looking forward to talking to him.
Yeah, breaking news, Brittany Acevedo is in the chat, has just become a diehard Hoge, and I know that we have a lot of new diehards who jumped on board yesterday with our incredible $36 for 36 hours, become a diehard sale, which you get a free t-shirt and everything else you get with being a diehard. So I know we got a ton of new people who have done it, who have been supporting us for a long time and jumping onto the diehard thing. So thank you to Brittany, and thank you to all. And I'm looking forward to having a deep conversation with you guys today about yesterday and what this looks like going forward.
By the way, I think we got actually, I think I can double check that right now. The clock is at 6 hours and 57 minutes.
6 hours and 57 to go. Come on.
$3 a month, $36 for the year, however you want to break it down. It's a great value, and I have a huge column up from Halas Hall yesterday on everything you need to know from those press conferences, so you get that right away if you sign up. And I was talking about this earlier in their meeting. The draft coverage alone coming up.
Yep. Or the head coaching search and all the nuggets.
It's an absolute steal.
Dishing out.
So that you want to get on it now, because this is I don't want to get in trouble for saying that. I think this is our lowest price we've ever had on the Die Hard.
Yes,
so
it's a record.
Yeah,
we did a Die Hard overtime yesterday where all of us, Nick Moriano and Patrick Norton included, we all talked with Die Hards exclusively on our Discord channel. There's a voice channel, aka Spaces as we'll call it, where you can come in, talk to us after shows, or we do happy hours. So it's about access to us, access to exclusive written content.
No. We get access to them.
Access to you guys.
Thank
and,
you.
of course, discounts on merch, discounts on events like our tailgates, draft parties, and everything else. Not just with the Bears, but all the teams we cover here in Chicago. And you get a free shirt as soon as you sign up.
It's Polo is in. Thank you. It's Polo. Love your whatever that is.
My guy Maddox on Twitter.
Pollo. Oh, of course.
My guy Maddox on Twitter just tweeted us a little bit ago, just became a diehard solely because of Greg Braggs Jr.
That's a lie.
How do you like that? And then he said, we need more one-shots from him. I agree with everything Maddox is saying.
Well, you start looking at the right camera, and we'll make that happen. All right, so I had an interesting evening last night. You know, writing what I wrote for the diehards allowed me to process a lot of what I saw at Halas Hall yesterday, what I consumed. The more and more I thought about like the day, thought about the press conferences, and I was getting some text too with some questions. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I had somebody text me about the fact that Ryan Poles wasn't wearing a suit and Kevin Warren was.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to make a big deal out of that, but it did get my mind kind of jogging a little bit more on the power dynamics that are going on. And this has been a thing with me, by the way, since they hired Kevin Warren. And I this is in my lead in my column for the diehards, is when George McCaskey hired Ryan Poles, technically Ted Phillips was part of that still. Remember?
Barely, but yes.
And Bill Polian. And for the first time in a long time, George McCaskey changed the power structure to have the new general manager report directly to him. Now, never mind the fact that I were already going down the road of doing everything in the wrong order, because at that point, it was already pretty much well known that Ted Phillips' years at Hallis Hall were numbered, that retirement was on the way, and they probably should have sped all that up at that moment. But they chose not to. So George McCaskey has Ryan Poles report directly to George McCaskey, which was different. That was a different power structure. And then it wasn't very long before they announced Ted Phillips is going to retire. Kevin Warren's going to come in. And a year later, you know what? We're going to switch this back around. Ryan Poles is now going to report to this guy that was not here when we hired you. Okay. Well, this will be interesting to see how things play out as soon as there's, some problems that need to be resolved, right? Well,
right.
We are in those problems right now. We are in the midst of those problems right now, and it has led to the Bears firing a head coach for the first time in the middle of the season, and a press conference yesterday that the more and more I think about it, left more questions than answers.
Yeah. I just remember the celebration back in the day. Finally, the Bears have order. They've got a president. They've got a general manager. They've got a head coach. Ted Phillips is out of the way.
They always had all those things, though.
Right, but it was different because it was clear as to who was in each role. And I remember when they hired Kevin that, they tried to make it as seamless as possible. Well, now Ryan is going to report to Kevin and not to George. And that was the end of that. Fast forward to yesterday. Well, now Ryan is going to sit there like someone who hasn't done his homework and looks like he wants to be back at summer camp and doesn't really have any energy whatsoever, to do his job. But I thought it's just, to me, it's exactly what you're underlining. We are back in the same place, and that is concerning for the Bears.
I just know that it's not just us wondering how much power Ryan Poles has lost to Kevin Warren.
Right.
And it seems like a pretty big consensus here that Kevin Warren is running the show here.
I mean, you're the point person, right? Tell me, Ryan, who to talk to. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like, you identify him, I'll talk to him.
Yeah, he calls him the point person, and then after multiple questions and finally being pinned down on it, hey, if it comes down to conflict and you guys can't agree on who's getting hired, who gets final say. And he did say Ryan Poles.
Right.
He did.
He was also asked, Kevin Warren, would you guys consider bringing in a consultant? And they said not at this point they haven't, but it'll be interesting to see if they do that.
Let me read you that quote because I thought that was interesting. As far as bringing a consultant, let me ask you, be Ryan Poles. Ryan, are you going to bring in a consultant? What's your answer? Yeah. He said they're still determining whether they'll use an external or internal search committee. No, I'm the general manager. I have contacts all over this league. I don't need Ernie Acosta to tell me who to hire.
Ernie who?
Whoever the hell that guy was.
Corsi?
Yeah, him.
Akasi?
Corsi. The whole thing gives me a headache just thinking about it. Wait, what did you do? Who else have they used in the consultant thing?
Well, last year Washington used Rick Spielman as a consultant. So,
the Jets are using the 33rd team right now.
Right, which is also Rick Spielman, right?
This is what you get paid to do.
Right, the Bears
talk to people in football all day long. What are you talking about? I don't understand that. Yes. No, we're not using a consultant. My consultant are these 7 million contacts that I have in the league. You're aware that I worked with the Chiefs, right? You're aware that I've been the general manager for 3 years. I don't need somebody. I have a short list if we ever got here, and I'm looking forward to talking to those guys.
It is a hilarious thing because it is like, what is your job? Your job is supposed to be to hire these people. You're gonna hire. Now you got to hire other people to do your job for you.
But it doesn't and the Bears went down this road with Bill Polian, right? And they've had some different consultants where that it hasn't worked out. So I understand your gripe, but to your point earlier, there is no question how much Kevin Warren is now flexing his role as the president of the Chicago Bears.
So let me ask you this, Greg, because here's where my brain also goes on this. Is this a good thing?
Right. And for me,
because he did hire Eberflus,
but he didn't hire Eberflus.
Right. He fired Eberflus. So
okay, but here's the thing about that. So now that guys, we are just living in an endless loop here.
That's right.
Because now that Flus has been fired, it seems to be coming out that Poles didn't really hire him. He was basically forced to. Okay, I don't know what's true or not true anymore when it comes to that, but here's what I do know about that. Either Ryan Poles did hire Matt Eberflus, and that should count against him because it didn't work, and then they could have made another change in January,
right,
and he didn't do it. I'm saying that's one scenario. Well, both of those, it's like you hired Eberflus twice, and it failed. So that's bad. Or the McCaskies did exactly what they did to Ryan Pace, and they repeated the exact same mistake they made when they hired Ryan Pace.
Correct.
Which was hand him the head coach and make him do it.
Which is even worse. That's absolutely what they did, because Matt Eberflus was hired 2 days after Ryan Poles was hired. So there's no way that Ryan Poles was doing any kind of thorough evaluation. They both have Trace Armstrong as agents. We all understand that. That was an arranged marriage. In my opinion, there's no question that that's how it went down. Now, if you're asking me, because you asked, is Kevin Warren, is this a good thing, the power he's now flexing as the Chicago Bears president? I'm starting to think it kind of is. I know nobody trusts him because he's this politician and he doesn't have the stadium built. But you know what? This organization needed a shakeup. George McCaskey's afraid to have the Bears on Hard Knocks. If I had to guess, I bet you Kevin Warren had big influence on that changing. You know, George McCaskey doesn't want to fire a coach in the middle of the season. They celebrate that they haven't done that in over 100 years. Well, Kevin Warren, if I had to guess, convinced George McCaskey to fire, Matt Eberflus the day after Thanksgiving. So I think there's finally somebody in that room that has a little cachet to do a little bit of flexing and get George to do things he's uncomfortable with. And I think that George needs a lot of that. We could have more of that if they could bring in a head coach that could do the same.
George needs to I almost feel like the Bears are in a, what's that movie, The Founder? Where,
yes, with the McDonald's.
Yeah.
The takeover.
Yes.
Right.
It's
the bait and switch with Michael Keaton. Hey, let me help you with your McDonald's franchise.
Right.
Yoink.
Yeah. I feel like Kevin's going to get the McCaskies to sell the Bears to him for going to hand him some sheets of paper. Be like, just sign this. Don't worry about it. Well, and then Warren will own the Bears for $1 million.
Well, hey,
and then it'll be the multi-billion-dollar organization down the road.
For all the Ted Phillips haters out there, this is my point. It's like, this is what you asked for. You asked for a new team president to come in and give an opening statement that lasted almost 8 minutes. It goes on and on and on about all this stuff, and that now, okay. Kevin Warren, I guess my point is Kevin Warren should be, kind of in charge of this. We got to take a break. We're getting to Cole Kmet joining us next. See JT O'Sullivan watching the show today. Shout out to the QB school. Always great content there. I know he's getting a kick out of all this Bear stuff.
It's not funny, JT.
Got it.
It's ruining my life.
Hey, looking for the perfect way to elevate your day? At Verilife Dispensary, they have everything you need, from premium cannabis products to expert advice, whether you're new to cannabis or a connoisseur. Their knowledgeable bud tenders are here to help. With 8 convenient locations across Illinois, discovering your perfect experience has never been easier. Verilife proudly offers a price match guarantee, ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. Don't miss out on their latest deals and exclusive offers only at Verilife Cannabis stores and online at verilife.com. Mention code CHGO25 in store and receive 25% off one regular price item. Restrictions apply.
That's right. Want to give a shout out to our guys over at Public Rec. I'm rocking my Public Rec hoodie right now. You guys were wearing
comfy,
some It is very comfy.
It's warm.
It's making me look slender, don't you think, Mark? Don't you think it's making me look? It's slimming. It's slimming.
It's a phenomenal sweatshirt.
It is a phenomenal sweatshirt. You're a phenomenal person. Public Rec is a phenomenal company. They're the most comfortable with dress pants and the last pair you'll need for the office. I saw Cody Del Mendo wearing the pants yesterday. It's a local company founded right here in Chicago. Public Rec truly captures the feeling of evenings in the city. I'm going to have an evening here in the city coming up on Saturday night with my lovely wife. Maybe I'll be rocking some Public Rec when I do it.
No way you're staying downtown Saturday?
Public Rec not only has the most comfortable pants ever made in many different styles, but they also have a huge selection of high-quality, everyday basics. You can revamp your entire wardrobe with their perfect fitting polos, shorts, hoodies. They have it all. Also, they come in waist and length sizing for the perfect fit. So whatever your size is, they have pants that are essentially custom fitted for you without any tailoring. Stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code CHGO at checkout. That's 20% off with the code CHGO at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Give yourself or someone you love the gift of comfort this holiday with Public Rec.
Are you really staying downtown Saturday?
Well, we're going to a show Saturday night, but I don't think I'm going to stay downtown.
He's not staying downtown. We don't allow people like this to stay in the city. You can visit, but you have to go back to your cul-de-sac.
Because I'm staying downtown Saturday, so I was just wondering if I need to change my
where
plan.
are we staying?
Not telling you. Not telling you.
Oh, yeah.
Taking the family to the Blackhawks game.
Oh,
3 o'clock game.
Staying in the city.
Yeah.
I have some.
See some city lights. Hopefully it warms up a little bit.
You want to go to the Chris Kindle Market together?
Freaking cold here. No.
As a family?
Don't ever ask me that again, by the way. Hey, JT's guy, number 85. We already knocked out the 85 with Cole Kmet. That's going to air later tonight at 7 o'clock right here on CHGO. Well, actually, not on CHGO. On the 85 channel, I should say. So make sure you are subscribed to the 85 with Cole Kmet. That'll come out at 7. But we got him to stick around a little bit longer, do a full segment for us to break down, obviously, everything that went down over the weekend, including some nuggets from the game as well against the Lions. So here it is, our conversation with Cole Kmet. This is the game recap presented by Ankin Law. Injury law made personal. They're here to help. Visit ankinlaw.com to learn more. We got an extended version of the game recap this week with everybody on set. Carman, I get to talk to Cole all the time on the 85, which, by the way, new episode tonight, 7 p.m. Break down everything from the whole weekend in a much longer format. So there's plenty in there. Make sure you subscribe to the 85. Separate YouTube channel, podcast feed as well. The 85 with Cole Kmet. Go check it out. So you take it away, Carm.
Well, it is weird to be excited right now because, we're sitting, you guys are sitting in the 6-game losing streak. But first of all, Cole and I, we didn't talk about it, but the fact that we're both wearing gray sweaters is huge for me.
We're twinning.
So we're twinning. And,
I think this is the first week we didn't wear the same thing.
Yeah. Seriously. I know.
On the 85.
Yeah. So this is big. All right. So I guess my first question, what excites you most about Thomas Brown if we're going to look forward here and just try to go that route to start the show?
Carm, I appreciate the positive question to start.
Thank you.
That's very thoughtful of you. You didn't have to do that, but you did.
I know I didn't, but like, listen, last year I was Ty curious for a minute there. People got on me, and now now yesterday we sorted through. I'm down with the Brown. Let's go. Let's go, Thomas.
I love it. I mean, obviously things that I've talked about when he took over as OC, same things, and I'm excited for him as a head coach. And I think that just kind of expands. You talk about his command of the room, his ability to be direct with the players, his standards that he set, and how clear and concise I think that has been for the offense and what's expected and what's not expected of us in the building and on the football field and in the meeting room, all those type of things. And I think that'll just kind of spread out throughout the rest of the football team. And I thought we had a good team meeting the other day, and I think guys are excited to get behind Thomas here for this final 5-game stretch of the regular season and kind of see what we can do with some of these coaches in the new role. And obviously, guys want to put good stuff on tape here for these final 5 games and down the stretch here. And shoot, who knows what can happen here for these final 5, and we'll see where it goes. But guys are definitely excited about TV and what he presents to the football team.
Do you worry? I mean, maybe it's wasted energy, but do you worry about guys checking out, coaches checking out? Like, where there's likely huge changes coming on the staff. Some who knows? Like, do you worry about that?
I don't. I don't, just because there's so much at stake for guys on the team. Whether you're a guy like myself, who I'm going to be here for probably the next year, the next few years. I got to put good tape on for this next staff coming in, whoever it is, whether it's the staff we currently have that carries over, like, or it's a new staff coming in. Like, I got to put good stuff on tape to show the things that I can do, show that I'm still improving as a player. So like that's the stake that's in it for me. I think that goes for the young players as well that are going to be here on this team. I think for guys who either have expiring contracts or on 1-year deals, like, they got to play for their free agency value. So there's a lot to play for in that regard. I think from a coaching standpoint, they kind of fit in that same thing. If you're a guy that's been elevated recently, whether it's TB or Coach Beatty, who's our receiver coach, now they can be the OC. Like, this is a new role for those guys and an opportunity to kind of take that role and make it their own a little bit and put some good stuff on tape there as well. And whether that's sticking around here in that same role or going somewhere else and being able to provide that role for another team. There's definitely a lot to play for here for guys here down the stretch. And I mean, I was saying it on the show earlier is, until the chance of making the playoff is absolutely zero, we're still fighting for that as well. And I'm going to keep that mentality because that's part of it that keeps it going for me. And I'm not ready just to, totally turn that part of it in yet. And so there's a lot to play for. And I don't worry about guys checking out just because of the nature of the business.
So you talk about, putting things on tape. So when you're doing these rub routes, have you ever thought, like, just lay flat on the ground or a spin move
right into it
or jump right over the guy? Like,
no.
Because, like, you have to understand, Cole, when you make a mistake, this is a reflection on me. And so then I have to answer to these mistakes on Twitter in live time while it's happening. So, I understand mistakes are going to happen, but then, I know they're hard routes. So I'm just trying to come up with solution. I'm not going to blame you for the mistake. I'm trying to come up with solutions. So, like, jump over the guy, spin around, do an Allen Iverson spin move.
These are all great coaching points that I will not implement in the game. No, I mean, I said this on what we did part of my show earlier. Is just in my regard to those things, totally inexcusable. Like, I can't have that happen. Right. They definitely depend on me, and those are mistakes that I don't usually make, and I can't be making. I'm a guy that has talked about the details needed that we haven't had, and I can't be the guy that goes out there and makes a mistake like that, especially in those in that type of moment.
When you're running a route, like, how does it then become your mistake? Because you're running a route, a guy runs into you. Mm-hmm. So I'm being facetious, saying, like, jump over him. But, like, why is it why does it come down to it now being on you to get out of that guy's way?
I just think, like, I just got to do a better job from the get-go. And I think the one I think about towards the end of the game, I do get, like, I have the backer that's it's on top of me, and then DJ's guy and man kind of right in front of me there, and I just got to take a better angle from the get-go. And so there's areas where I got to just be way better there in that scenario. I think it comes from a place of trying to do too much in that moment. Obviously the intent of that play is to get DJ open when it's man coverage, and that's the look we got there. And we hit that look a few times throughout the game that for big games, and we hit that earlier in the drive, actually. So I think I just got a little greedy with my angle on that play, and but at the end of the day, totally inexcusable, a thing that can't happen, especially in that moment. I get bailed out the next play with the PI call, but
great call.
But I get when we rehash those final moments of that game, like that's kind of my accountability that I have to have in that scenario. And maybe if I don't have that penalty and the drive looks a little bit differently going from there, and maybe it doesn't come down to that final play where the clock hits zero. So that's where I got to be much better. And I know that's going to be a focus for me going forward, making sure I'm on that. And look, I understand mistakes happen, but they pay me to be right in those big moments. And at that point, I didn't do a good enough job of running that route. And And, you still want to affect the guy, but you don't want to obviously run into him like that. And
well, what do they say in NASCAR? If you're not rubbing, you're not racing.
Is that the motto?
How did you just pull that out?
I know I'm not even a NASCAR guy, but that's what they say.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Well, I've never heard.
They're not rubbing. Pause, but okay.
So okay, I'm gonna try to put you on. Not try to. I'm just gonna ask. Okay, the sack happens.
Yeah.
There's 30 some odd seconds left. I said at that point on the sidelines, like in an ideal scenario, if you can stop time, and that's obviously what the head coach's job is, but like
you actually could have.
Right, you could have. So like I think you call time right there, and then you get it all set up like, hey, we're going to run one play, and then the field goal unit's going to come on the field. But the way it went, and everyone's killed him for it, but I sort of get it. Like, he's hoping you guys are going to get a playoff, get 7 yards, whatever it is, call timeout, send him out there.
Yeah.
So, like, at what point, like, how's your mind racing in that moment? What are you thinking that should be happening?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you see the sack happen, and like I turn around on my route and you see him on the ground. So now it's like, okay, you gotta get back to the line of scrimmage, get the play, because obviously at that point the clock had not stopped, and we had some guys on some vertical routes down the field that you're waiting to get back, and you're trying to get the play call from Caleb. Guys are a little bit not, in those end of games, you're just trying to get lined up in legal formations, right? And I think DJ there was at the number 2 spot, which he's usually the number 1 or the number 3. Like he's, not usually in that sort of spot. So a little confusion on who was taking the ball. I realized that he was still off the ball. So then I took it, and then we're still waiting for the play call there. I think Caleb was changing some things, and then obviously time just got away. So I think when I look at it, and I was talking about this, like, I understand everyone wanting to point to one person to get mad at a certain scenario in terms of how things were handled, but like, we got to be better as players operating in that situation too. We got to have an awareness of the clock. We got to get set. I got to do a better job of getting set, communicating down to the receivers in terms of what play we're going to be running. So there's culpability everywhere in that regard, and we as players got to be better there too. And we just got to operate a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner, and then in order to get that play off, and then get the timeout, and then kick the field goal. So look, I understand all the narrative going on, and I understand the nature of wanting to blame one person, but that's just never the case, man. And I really believe that. And obviously we talked about the things that transpired from the beginning of the drive, from the first play all the way to that last play, when the clocks hit 0. And there was a lot of things that we could have done a better job at. There was opportunities to score that we just kind of missed on. And I don't believe it's ever one thing. And I think we as players, and I know myself, could have operated better there in those final minutes.
So then, like, if we fast forward along, you guys have lost. You go off the field. I mean, you got to be sick and whatever. And then a lot of people have talked about Jalen in the locker room and being emotional. I don't know what you can share about that, but what was going on with that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get too much into it, just out of respect for the locker room, and out of respect for Jalen too. I think Jalen probably has talked about it, and people can go check that out on whatever his comments he made on it. So I'll leave that to him. But look, I mean, I know for myself, like,
I guess, have you ever experienced anything like that in the locker room? Like, how rare?
Actually, one thing I forgot to ask you on the 85.
Yeah.
Did you have anything to say?
No, I didn't. I was more, again, after that game, like, how I always take these things, and truthfully, is like, I'm always like, man, I didn't do enough. Like, I what did I not do right? And like, obviously, I had things there in the final moments that I need to be better at, and things throughout the game I wasn't happy. I definitely wasn't happy with how I played. I think one of my worst games I've played in a little while. Not just from the penalty standpoint, but there's some things that I could have done a much better job throughout the game executing, and I didn't do that. So I got to rebound from that going forward this week. But that's kind of how I take things after the game. I just look at it, man, if I would have done this here, in the first quarter, or this here in the second, and there was a mistake I made in the third, like, is the outcome different? And that's kind of how I take things. And because it's just so hard to be, like, from my ass, and I get, like, and I'm not gonna hate on anybody that wants to say, oh, we should have done this or should have done that in terms of game management or whatever, and I get all that stuff, but it's just so hard to be perfect all the time. And I understand that until, like, in my head, until, like, I'm absolutely perfect at anything, like, I just don't want to, like, turn to blame something else, because I know if I was better, maybe the result's just totally different. Maybe we don't get in that type of scenario. So that's kind of how I look at things. But look, I took the loss very hard, and I was surprised by the ending in terms of how it unfolded there in the last 30 seconds or so. And look, it's been a hard couple weeks. We've lost these games. We've been in these games against what some would say, I think, the 3 top teams in the league and in a very tough division. And we're right there with them. I don't think this is not like a thing where we're losing 40 to 10. Like, that's just not happening. You know what I mean? I think that's why there's been frustration, because we know what we have on the roster. We know what we have as a team, and we've just been falling up short here and there. And but again, that's not just one person. It's a collective, and I know we as players, I know myself, we have to be better. And there's just areas that we're just missing here and there that we got to improve on and got to detail on and got to be better at. And I know I'm going to start that with myself, and then I know the rest of the guys feel that way as well.
Well, I know you talk about the sanctity of the locker room, and I think one of my favorite things I heard from Thomas Brown yesterday was family business is family business.
Yeah,
was the message he had for you guys in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And we all appreciate the access that we're getting now, obviously doing these shows with you and hearing some of the different insights that we wouldn't normally hear. But how important is it to you going forward that there isn't as much being revealed about what's being said in the locker room? Because me personally, as much as we like to hear some of these things, at the same time, just from rooting for the Bears' sake, I just feel like you guys need to start tightening the bolts a little bit.
Well, I think I totally agree with you. I think, look, I think that comes with obviously the frustration of the year and losing. Things aren't as loud necessarily when you're winning, and I think that's just kind of by nature in that regard. But look, I think we can definitely do a better job with that in terms of keeping things a little bit more tight knit within the locker room, and I'll put myself on that as well. And look, I still want to be able to talk to you guys in terms of how I'm feeling, in terms of how I perceive things and all that stuff. But definitely want to have respect for the guys in the locker room in terms of, not speaking for other people, I guess is what I would say.
Personal conversations, right?
Yeah. And so keeping that. But this day and age also, you just don't know like what's getting out there and what's not. Like,
sure.
I had Courtney ask me about a thing about Caleb a couple weeks ago where he talked to us, and I didn't even know that was like public info, so like there's things you just know and don't know. And in this day and age, it is a little strange. And like, I know, I assume most of us probably found out about Coach being let go over the internet or like over a notification. And like in this day and age, man, what I've realized is like, that just kind of is what it is to a certain extent. And it's very hard to keep everything bottled in. I don't know if it's different other places. I don't necessarily think that. But it's just very hard to keep things bottled in nowadays, because it does feel like things are so public all the time, which is a little unfortunate, but I think it's just kind of being in 2024 at this point.
All right. I know we got to get going, but I want you to think about this very hard. All right.
Here it comes.
In a cage match, who would win in this cage match? Thomas Brown, Bill Belichick,
oh my God,
Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson.
No comment. Move on. That's ridiculous.
He just couldn't resist.
That's ridiculous.
I think Thomas Brown probably would win.
I do know that everybody that watches this show, everybody that watches your show appreciates hearing from you as much as Braggs wants to apparently shut you up.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. No, I get, my point is that just like, obviously, like, I want to have, either there's a balance to it, and I think I've done a all right job. You speak enough, like, obviously things you say get a little, the intent of what you say isn't perceived how you want it to at times. And that happened to me earlier in the year. But it's part of it. I think it's this day and age of being in 2024 and all that stuff. But part of the deal, that's for sure.
Well, and the good news is you got a lot more coming from Cole later today, 7 p.m. the 85 with Cole Kmet debuts. Make sure you are subscribed to that separate YouTube channel and listen to it as a podcast.
Get your 85 merch. Look at, I got mine in the mail like a week ago. So let's go.
Heck yeah.
7 o'clock. Talk to you then.
Should have gone size larger. I'm so funny.
That's not nice.
That's not nice. We're trying to be better, but sometimes these things happen. Shout out! I just saw you in the chat. Shout out to Phil23. My guy, saw him at the Midtown Athletic Club, greatest place on earth, out at in Bannockburn. Phil and James, they came and said hello to me. I love when people do that.
Next time, Phil, if you see him there, just push him down the stairs for me.
I was at the bottom of the stairs. He couldn't have pushed me. He'd have to lift me up and then throw me down, which is possible.
All right, we'll do Die Hard reads later.
Yeah. Okay. There, Greg.
But first.
Greg, ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient.
I did not know that ComEd did that, my good friend and sweet Bippy.
Yep, the energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings.
Wow. So what does a business have to do there, Karma Cramicals?
Well, Greg, they just have to sign up for a free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
So why aren't businesses doing it more there, old man?
He literally can't read a sentence, just for the record. Maybe they forgot the website. Would you like to tell them what it is?
ComEd.com/biz?
ComEd.com/biz.
ComEd.com/biz. I got it now.
That's right. ComEd.com/biz. That should get it done. I love our friends at ComEd. They're doing great work. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customers' energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law. Stay tuned for a Die Hard coming up.
And we are sponsored by Chicago Sports Network, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Hawks, Bulls, and Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit CHSN.com for more info on how to watch Bulls, Hawks, and Sox games all season long. And speaking of the Bulls, guys, big thing to announce today. And it appears we are calling this a top shelf event.
Wow.
Which is big.
Better find the Duke.
Listen up right now. Where is the Duke?
I'm going to try to reach out to the Duke.
You don't know
the Duke's mad at us.
You don't know how to do that. All right, listen up. Listen up, Carm.
Okay.
CHGO Sports wants you to join us for a once-in-a-lifetime event. CHGO Bulls are doing a takeover on what will be one of the most popular nights of the year at the United Center. Derrick Rose Night on January 4th.
Oh!
Yes, and but this is not our average takeover. You may have been on it with us. No, it is a sweet takeover. That's right. This is the good stuff, the top shelf. And here's what you'll get. You'll get to hang out with the CHGO Bulls crew, including four-time NBA champ and guy who sat behind me at Game 2 of the World Series in 2005, Will Perdue. Plus, because it's the sweet life, you get food and drinks all night long as well, which is huge. An exclusive CHGO merch package is included. And most importantly, you get to share in the moment of Chicago's own Derrick Rose as he gets his flowers on the night of his retirement. But you need to act fast because tickets are extremely limited for this. It's just one suite. And if you are a CHGO diehard, this is big, guys. You get $100 off. Wow. It's not a cheap event for us.
Nope, top shelf.
Top shelf. So if you want to be there and you're a diehard, good time to sign up to be a diehard right now. You get the best deal we've had ever, and you also get $100 off this event. So please sign up right now. This is a great way to basically have the whole thing pay for itself. Tickets at allchgo.com/events. That's where you go. allchgo.com/events.
All right, so dialed some things up
Let
here.
me start this up.
Yes, sir.
Because I'm slightly frightened here. I think it's the first time.
Don't be scared.
That we've given Greg a homework assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's maybe the first time he's actually done his homework in his entire life, too.
I did it. I did it.
I don't believe you.
Basically, because we know if you follow Greg on Twitter, he's been following all these rumors that of all these names that are being thrown out there for Bears head coach. So I said, Greg, since you want to talk about this and because you're following it so closely, we would like to toss it over to you. I want you to play reporter on this. Report on the reporters.
Yes. We will report on the reporters here. A lot of rumors flying around now that Matt Eberflus has been fired. Coaches trying to put their, name in the hat, for the opportunity to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So I want to keep you guys up to date on who's saying what. And as we progress through the rest of the season and as we get into the offseason, the rumor mill is just going to continue to churn. So I want to start out here. We'll start slow with Ian Rappaport. He put out, a lot of different videos coming out on Sunday right before, the game started up. Ian Rappaport saying Cliff Kingsbury is an interesting name to watch. And obviously Cliff Kingsbury, is attached to, Caleb Williams, and I think they still have a close relationship. And so I think there's some validity to that report as we have the graphic up. If you want to pull that one back up for me, Steven, I'll run you through. Mike Florio is suggesting this morning that the Bears should inquire about trading for Kyle Shanahan. And you might have heard from a different insider last week who did appear on the show, Brad from San Fran, who is in a family of coach saboteurs. He has a cousin from Chicago that may or may not have had a hand in the head coach in Chicago getting fired. Well, Brad is doing his hard work trying to get Kyle Shanahan fired from San Fran for different reasons that I won't state. Now, oddly enough, the Bears and San Fran play here on Sunday, so it'll be interesting to see how that all goes. And so the big name that came out Sunday morning was Marcus Freeman. And Marcus Freeman, the head coach from Notre Dame, obviously Jonathan Jones put out an article from CBS, reported that the Bears were interested in Marcus Freeman. But if you're paying attention to our program here, our insider here at CHGO Sports, Adam Hoge, was the first to put his name in the consideration ring on Wednesday. Before the game was even played on Thursday, Adam Hoge had him on his early short list of candidates to be considered. He also added in Dan Lanning from Oregon.
And then everybody yelled at me.
And then, of course, Peter Schrager of NFL Network does great work. Apparently wasn't paying attention to any of the other reporting and going around the league, and apparently doesn't watch our program. So that's a shame on him, thinking he was the first to mention Marcus Freeman and thinking he was making the waves for Marcus. But I'm sorry, Peter. Early bird gets the worm. And the early bird was Adam Hoge and Jonathan Jones. So credit to them. So now we start to really get into the teeth of this thing. Jay Glazer, who is somebody that is heavily connected with Hallis Hall. This was pretty funny in the morning. These were the two different lists of names he had up. He called it a bear market and had offensive and defensive coaches listed. And as you can see, he has 15 names here on this list. Thomas Brown also not included in the list of all the different offensive options and all the different defensive options. No Dan Lanning, no Kurt Cignetti, no Marcus Freeman, no Thomas Brown amongst the 15 names that Jay Glazer's putting out there. So you can see just how chaotic the speculation is going to go here as we try to figure out who the next head coach will be. But these are all the names that you have to consider. And then finally, we land on, of course, Ben Johnson, who is, for Bears fans, the darling for most Bears fans of, who they want as their next head coach for the Chicago Bears. So to keep you up to date, Albert Breer about a month ago on Cap and J Hood said that he was interested in the Bears job last year, that being Ben Johnson. Adam Schefter back then said he wasn't so sure of that. And then all of a sudden Sunday morning, Adam Schefter changed his tune and said Ben Johnson would be interested in it, but had the caveat of, can the Bears convince Ben Johnson to come to the Bears? So that had a lot of ears perked up. Does that mean money? What does that mean? But that's what Schefter's saying. Benjamin Albright, who's certainly connected and has had some different things out there that he's gotten correct, working out in Denver, covering the NFL. His pinned tweet right now is him predicting Ben Johnson to the Chicago Bears. So it's three pretty big insiders that are connecting Ben Johnson with the Bears. Albert Breer was also on this morning with our guy, David Kaplan, and Jonathan Hood. And he said the Bears need a program leader. Mentioned Mike Vrabel. He also mentioned Brian Flores, a former college teammate to Ryan Poles. And then, of course, said Bill Belichick would make a lot of sense for the Chicago Bears. And if you go back and listen to that, he really had like a pretty hard sales pitch for Bill Belichick. And that just surprised me because of all the insiders that are out there, I think for me, Albert Breer is the one I pay attention to the most. If you looked at his detailed reporting in the offseason of how their process of finding Caleb Williams and trading Justin Fields, it was step for step. He might as well have been writing from Ryan Poles' itinerary schedule. That's how detailed it was. And so I just think if you're going to pay attention to anybody, for my money, Albert Breer is probably the first guy. And Albert Breer was the first to report that Caleb Williams was, or not Caleb Williams, was the first to report that Matt Eberflus was fired on Friday. So I think there's some validity to paying attention to what Albert Breer is saying. He puts out Bill Belichick this morning. So there's just a lot to cover here, and we have 2 months to go, and it's going to be hard to, get through all the speculation, but that's what we do here. We're going to organize it for you, and we're going to have our own conclusions. Adam's going to do his digging. Mark will try to work on the stadium deal, and then we will come up to the conclusion of what the Bears finally decide.
Yeah, really well done. Really well done. Yeah. When did you start talking? How long ago?
Dude, how about you do another,
no, you didn't.
Carm's notes.
I think that's
those scintillating segments.
I thought that was great. I'm insulted you're going to listen to Albert Breer over me, but
I'm listening.
That was a good summary because I got to be honest with you. A, there was way too many names being thrown out Sunday morning for me to give any credibility to anything. And B, I was busy at a charity event, so I honestly missed a lot. I couldn't keep track of who was saying what or where or when. So, in conclusion, every single candidate is a candidate. Good luck.
Well, and I say let's take a break here because I know we got to get it in under the 50-minute mark. But like to me, I think I want to get kind of your insight, Hoge, as to why their reports are put out and the different leveraging techniques of, the reason a name might get thrown out there through the media, whether that's through a coach, a agent, a team. There's just a lot of different variables that I think people have to consider. And we'll get into all of that. And I want to pick your guys' brains on how you guys have come across sources.
But first, Empire Today. Empire Today is where you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring. So, of course, they have copycats, kind of like Peter Schrager copying me. I'm Marcus Freeman. It's ridiculous. Can't happen. Empire cannot be beaten on quality. I'm kidding, obviously. Peter's awesome. Quality, service, speed. Competitors advertise low-quality products, and Empire's just not going to carry, guys. Empire's not going to promise you the lowest prices because anybody who does that is putting flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in theirs. And they have their virtual floor designer I've told you about a bunch. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy. Just snap a picture. Instantly see how new floors will look in your room. And Empire services their own warranties. That's huge. So if an issue does arise, you just call Empire. You don't have to track down a manufacturer's phone number. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details.
Shout out to our friends at Constant Contact. Constant Contact. Let's talk about goals for a minute. Are you tracking them? Are you paying attention? By the way, businesses, we are in the fourth quarter here. This is December. You need to know where you're at, and you need to know why you haven't hit them if you're short on those goals. So Constant Contact is going to help you meet them faster. No matter how experienced you are with digital marketing, Constant Contact has the tools to make your marketing run smoother, sell more, raise more, build more genuine relationships with your audience. That's huge. Constant Contact's suite of digital marketing tools. They got it all for you, all made to fast-track your success. Tap email marketing that helps you create and send the perfect email to every customer. That's the goal. Time to put Time to put the go in your 2024 business goals with email, social, SMS, and customized marketing campaigns built for you in just a few clicks. Ready, set, go to constantcontact.com/AllCity. Start your free trial today. Go to constantcontact.com/AllCity for your free trial today.
All right.
Yeah, so I essentially want to dial this up.
You just want to know why names are being thrown out there?
Yeah, I explain to fans or viewers that may not understand like how this process works right now. And you're hearing names like Marcus Freeman, and you're hearing, obviously everybody's just starting to put their hat in the ring now that Eberflus has been fired. Job openings are going to start opening up. And so just from your experience covering the Bears and the NFL over the last 15, 20 years, just how the different rumors come about. And then we'll hear Carm ramble about whatever he thinks on the subject.
No, I have no expertise in this area whatsoever.
Well,
I've just been sitting here doing nothing for 20 years of my career. Go ahead, Adam.
Could have fooled us.
I have no idea what's going on.
I just think it's important to kind of like understand what phase we are in this. We're in the exploring phase right now. Like you're going to have agents that want to get their clients mentioned. You got some people that are just throwing out who they think should be considered. Then you got, I think in some cases, candidates that the Bears have probably already done their due diligence on. Too, and I believe one of those people is Marcus Freeman, by the way. So you don't have to like that. I got killed for that video I did. That's fine. That's fine. You
didn't get killed. You got great reaction, and you got incredible engagement, and it was an amazing video.
Thank you.
Oh, he got killed.
That was very nice of you. So I think everybody's putting a lot of opinions out right now. I think what this is all, as I was joking around there before the break, it has come out to a list of all the names you would think that would be involved in this. So let me try to pare this down for you a little bit in terms of guys who I think are legitimate candidates. Like I said, I don't think Marcus Freeman's going to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears, by the way. Okay. That one would surprise me, but if it got to that point, but I do think that he might be a legitimate person that the Bears look at. So there's a difference there. I think Mike Vrabel is somebody that it would not shock me if Mike Vrabel was one of the finalists for this job. I think that Ben Johnson should be and probably will be heavily considered. Whether he becomes a finalist might depend on how long the Detroit Lions play football in January, possibly into February. And then if you put a gun to my head right now and said, who's the favorite for the job? My answer would be Thomas Brown. Because he's the current head coach with a big opportunity in front of him. And I think that there's a lot of signs that point to him having an opportunity to kind of own this thing and have some positive results here in these last 5 weeks. But he is going to have results. But part of that evaluation will also be the offense, right? Because you could be, now I'm going to get hypothetical here for you. You could be in a situation where, let's say this job came down to Ben Johnson versus Thomas Brown. And on one side, you got, Ben Johnson is just killing folks with this awesome offense, innovative, some of the stuff he's running, it's outstanding. But can he lead a whole team? We don't know. Thomas Brown might be over here and might have just gone through 5 weeks of having incredible success of leading the entire team. Regardless of how many games they win, he might have won over the locker room. He might be leading them, but you might not feel as confident about his offense going forward as Ben Johnson's. And there's probably not going to be a world in which you can hire Ben Johnson and have Thomas Brown work under him in a different scheme, because Ben Johnson's most likely going to still call these plays. So these are just some of the difficult situations you might find yourself in January.
Well, you have, and Ben Johnson has a great scheme, but it's with the Lions, not the Bears. Thomas Brown is putting a scheme together that's with the Bears.
Well, and most importantly, when you say that, I refer to specifically the Lions' offensive line.
Right.
And how much easier it is to design an offense and call plays when you have an offensive line.
So that's where we need to get to, by the way, ultimately. Like, look, first of all, Ryan Poles should be making this decision. Kevin should be smart enough to get out of the way here and realize that you have a general manager who's a football guy with context for a reason. You have a guy, Ryan Poles is not going to come upstairs and be like, Kevin, I think the chairs in Suite 565, whenever you get this thing built, should be red. He wouldn't do that. And neither should you with the football coach, because you don't know that business as well as you know the business of making stadiums. The stadium in Minnesota is beautiful. Hopefully we'll have that here someday. I still believe in you, Kevin. You're going to get this done. But let Poles cook and do his thing. But and it's a huge hire. I don't want to minimize it in any way, shape, or form. But it's almost as big. What are you going to do with the first 3 picks in the top 60, dude? Because you need some freaking help on both sides of the ball. So this is a huge, offseason for Ryan on multiple levels here. So he's got to do a lot right for this to turn, because if they did have that offensive line that you're talking about, whoever the head coach that comes in here is going to be way more likely to have success.
Well, for a lot of fans, I feel like they're looking at Ben Johnson as the guy that they want because they're seeing what he does in our division.
I think he's a tough sell.
Why do you say that?
Never been a head coach before. We do not know how he can lead it. He's we can't forget what just happened with Matt Nagy.
You do know that Kevin Warren could literally sell you he would sell you a glass that had brown water, and he would tell you how amazing it is. And by the time he was done talking about the brown water, you'd be like, yes, we're gonna win the Super Bowl.
Man, drink this brown water. You bring up Matt Nagy. I think it's a lazy comparison, like people comparing Thomas Brown to Antonio Pierce. Matt Nagy.
Well, for the record, I didn't get to finish that sentence before I got interrupted by brown water.
Well, and now I'm interrupting Carm, so this is the trickle-down effect of interruption. And so I'll let you get to your point.
Trickle-down interruption effect?
Trickle-down interruption effect.
Wow.
And so what I'll say to that is Matt Nagy called 3 plays before he became head coach.
Yes.
And Ben Johnson's been calling plays for 3 years.
Football team.
Correct. Now you can make your point.
Which was my point with Matt Nagy.
Respect the one shot.
No, it's fine. It's a good conversation. No, Ben Johnson's not necessarily Matt Nagy. Ben Johnson is calling the offense. It is his offense. It's clearly his offense with the Lions. But it would be also so Bears to go back to a first-time head coach because he's the offensive guy, and then find out 2 years into that, oh, by the way, he doesn't have the same offensive line, and he can't lead an entire football team. And I have no idea if Ben Johnson can do that right now.
So then you're saying you want a proven guy. You want somebody who's done.
I would prefer. Yes, right now I think when you look at what the Bears have lacked since Lovie Smith is a true head coach who commands the respect of an entire locker room. I somewhat half-heartedly joked yesterday when I got to Hal's Hall, this is my 5th head coach firing. I have not covered a firing, though, where the whole locker room was in tears since Lovie Smith was fired. Well, because that was a real day. Every single one of these, ever since, has been more of a celebration that the guy's out the window. I don't know if they threw him out a window or not, but he at least went out the door.
In this case, he probably was sent out a window.
So this one, and that's because whatever you felt about Lovie Smith, and maybe it was time at the end of it, but it was 9 years, but he captivated that locker room. And that, to me, if you want to call that leader of men, whatever, that's what the Bears need above anything else.
Right.
Now, then second on that, I would say somebody that can be connected with Caleb Williams for a long, long time. And yes, ideally, that is a singular offensive system that doesn't change over time. And you're probably not getting that with a defensive head coach. And that's why I come back to Thomas Brown again. Because he is the perfect answer. If it works out, which we don't know yet, but if it does, he is the perfect answer because he could potentially check all these boxes. I don't necessarily need to know or say, hey, a coach who's not a first-timer, because technically after 5 games, Thomas Brown won't be a first-timer anymore. He'll have some experience. But, yeah, that's where I stand on all that. We need to
I got it. Just a reminder that as we get to the top of the hour here, appreciate everybody watching on our many channels, Samsung TV and whatnot. just a reminder, become a diehard. It's a great thing to do to support the show if you love the show. It's also a great thing to do if you want a free T-shirt. It's also a great thing to do in the next 6 hours because we're doing the $36 for 36 hours promotion with Cyber Monday, Black Friday, and you can still get in $36. It's never going to be cheaper. This is the time to do it. We appreciate everyone's support, access to our Discord, access to discount on merch, discount to the events. We're giving you $100 off to go see Derrick Rose on January the 4th to have his number retired with the Knicks. So many perks when you become a diehard. Thank you. Gregory, you wanted to say something to Hoge's rant.
No, I just
rant, whatever that.
I think you're going to hear buzzwords that are going to trigger Bears fans. Like you said, a proven coach, a leader of men, a program, a program leader, right? A builder of a program. If you ask Bears fans, they're running for Ben Johnson, right? Because he's the hot name right now. If you ask me what I think this organization needs, it's probably a guy like Bill Belichick that's going to change a lot of the ways this organization has been for far too long, and somebody like Bill that's not going to put up with all that crap. But if you're asking the players what they want, at this point, I agree that right now Thomas Brown is the favorite. He's the leader in the clubhouse, as Herb Howard said yesterday. TJ Edwards on earlier with 6-7 in score. This is defense now. We've heard all the quotes from the offense. We've heard from Cole. We've heard from Caleb. We've heard from DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, talking about what Thomas Brown is doing for them as an offense in those meeting rooms. This is TJ Edwards on Thomas Brown. He means business, what his expectations are and things like that. He wants those to be met with no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I can appreciate that. A no-nonsense guy who comes into work and wants to win no matter what it looks like. And when you just juxtapose what happened with Matt Eberflus, now transitioning into a guy like Thomas Brown, yes, it's a low bar here in Chicago for what should just be a normal criteria for any coach, but they haven't had this since Lovie Smith. And so now you have somebody in here that I think the players are going to play for and play for each other. And I think that this is a huge opportunity here these next 5 weeks. But he has to not just show he's building a culture within that locker room. He does have to show that he's willing or able to turn this into a winning culture. So you can't go 2-3. You can't go 1-4. You certainly can't go 0-5. It's got to be a minimum of 3-2 or more. Beat some of your divisional opponents here. You got all 3 before the season ends, and you have to show that you can turn this into a winning culture, and that is what the Bears have been missing more than anything.
I'll take that one step forward. Beat the Packers.
Well, the Packers one's a little tricky because it's the last game of the year. Yes, you got to beat the Packers, but they might not even be playing their starters potentially. So if that game ends up meaning something, which
if they're not playing their starters, then even more beat the Packers.
Yes, for sure, for sure. But if you beat the Packers without their starters, it's more of a it's not hitting the fastball.
The context will certainly matter. I want to bring up 3 comments here real quick, Carm, because I actually want to hear your response to some of these. You don't have to bring them up because one was from like the first 5 minutes of the show that just re-jogged in my head. But someone, when we were talking in the first segment about the Poles-Warren dynamic, said that it was already giving off Kenny Williams, Rick Hahn vibes. And I got to say that's
spot on.
That kind of hit me where it's like, and this might be just the beginning of it, where it's like, who's actually doing what? Who really does have final say? Who is calling the shots? Eric Beauchanton, thank you for that comment earlier in the show. That kind of hit something with me.
Beauchanton's never said anything wrong except for the times when he's complained about me. But other than that, he's been on the money. Keep going.
There was another one a few minutes ago, and obviously, different sport, different comparison, not everything's the same. But someone did remind everybody that Phil Jackson was once the assistant under Doug Collins.
Yeah, that's a reach and a half.
What? You don't think Thomas Brown is Phil Jackson?
Probably not, no. But and I'm talking about even
I still think it's a good comment in a YouTube situation.
It's not the worst comment.
Well, everybody keeps looking for interim coaches that became a head coach and had success. Well, we found one. It's just in the NBA.
course,
There you go.
that's not accurate because Phil wasn't an interim coach. He was.
Well, whatever.
And then
All
someone
right.
else just compared Bill Belichick
Well,
to Tony.
you're not going to not get Phil
Don't
Jackson's
get in the
career
facts
right.
of the way of a good story, right, Cody?
Flex digs. We got the next Phil Jackson.
All right.
He's going to win 11 rings, man.
And then someone else said Bill Belichick equals Tony La Russa.
And again, I think Bill Belichick equals Tony La Russa is a lazy comparison. I think Thomas Brown equals Antonio Pierce is a lazy comparison. And I think Ben Johnson equals Matt Nagy is a lazy comparison. Like, if that's all you're going to do is just the most simplistic labeling of these guys, there is more layers to who these guys are. Bill Belichick isn't out to lunch the way Tony La Russa. He's falling asleep in the dugout. I've watched Bill Belichick here. He's on the Pat McAfee show weekly, breaking things down. He just broke down what happened in the final 30 seconds of the Lions game. He has his wits about him. You know, Tony La Russa is not dating 20-year-olds. You know, like Bill
24.
24. You know, so I'm just saying, like, Bill Belichick is still a little more like has his wits about him.
I want to make sure that I just heard that right. Because Bill's dating a 24-year-old, you think he's more qualified for the job. That's
I'm just saying, people are comparing him to Tony. Like, Tony's like,
You know what?
should be putting in a
Yes, I actually agree with
You
that.
think that's true?
Yeah.
He shares more in common with his players.
No. Ooh, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, they're probably dating 24-year-olds.
They could
He's
go
got
on.
more in
They
co-
could go on. You know, shopping.
Somehow I
trips
didn't hear
together.
more in common. I thought I heard something completely different, which was very strange. But that's cool. Look,
I
think his players think that's weird as hell, and because it is.
I'm just telling people, like,
Congratulations.
I understand why nobody would want Bill Belichick here. He's 72 years old. He's past his better days are behind him. One thing I do know when we talk about these 20 different coaching candidates that could be the Bears, Bill Belichick is a great coach. It's not debatable.
That's a bold take.
Exactly. All these other coaches, there's a question around them. We know that Bill Belichick is a great coach. We know that he's going to demand details with the team. We know that he's not going to take shit from anyone in the organization. So if the Bears were willing to have a guy like that here, I think he is exactly what this organization, not just the players, this organization, the coaches, the front office, George McCaskey, they need a guy like Bill Belichick here. I don't think he's going to come here, but for everybody writing it off like he'd be the worst thing that ever happened to the Chicago Bears, I could argue the exact opposite. They need somebody in here that's going to shake the tree.
Well, picturing the first conversation between Bill Belichick and George McCaskey is somewhat entertaining to think about. But
Think he would make
Bill
him do
Belichick might be the closest thing to George Hal's that exists right now. So, you know.
Well, and Kevin could just put up a big picture of Bill in his office like he's got a George. He could put them side by side. That'd be sweet.
Put them right
Well,
up. Let's have a really important conversation off this, though. Because
Yeah.
I think the most common question when Bill Belichick's name comes up is like, just how would that work with the power dynamic at Hal's Hall right now?
It wouldn't.
Well,
Yeah.
but don't you think if, getting back to the question of this show today in the headline, if Ryan Poles' power has been diminished, don't you think that opens the door a little bit to Bill Belichick?
No. I personally don't.
Why, you just don't think he could work under Kevin Warren?
Right.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't see Kevin wanting to put somebody who literally would be thirsting to run the whole thing, at least until he got into a place where he thought it was right. Like, Kevin would have to step back, and every step that Kevin takes right now seems to be a step forward.
and I know we got to get going here soon, but
Blackhawks coming up at the bottom of the hour.
the idea of the Bears trying to trade for a coach like Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, is there any scenario, Hoge, where you think that could become a realistic possibility, or just something that I
Kyle
tweet
Shanahan?
about for Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay
You tweet about this, or does Brad?
and Brad
Oh.
and everybody? Hey, the Shanahan thing, everybody laughed at me and Brad when I brought this up weeks ago, and now the entire NFL landscape. So maybe I am the puppeteer of nonsensical conversations.
Mike Florio
on social
mentioned
media.
it. Don't say the entire NFL.
You know, Peter Schrager tries to take credit for Marcus Freeman, but I will take credit for the Kyle Shanahan.
You or Brad?
So
Who's taking credit for this, Craig or Brad? I'm confused now. All right.
This has been a confusing conversation.
If the Bears can get Kyle Shanahan,
yeah, you going to give a first-round pick for him?
my instinct right now is to say yes, but I will answer that question once I see what Thomas Brown does for the next 5 weeks.
It would take 2 first-round picks for Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, in my opinion. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I don't know what Sean Payton. What'd they give up for Sean Payton?
I'd have to look it up, but first I'd like to thank Victor Garza for becoming a diehard yesterday. Thank you, Victor.
John, Mike, Brenton, all in here.
Yes. Well, and listen.
Power 17.
One thing about John Deinhardt coming in here. This guy Deinhardt.
This guy.
Deinhardt from way back in the day. He was kind of.
Deinhardt, is he a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie?
He had the courage of Bruce Willis in Die Hard. That's what Deinhardt brings to the table. He will go in places that nobody else will go and make it work. And that's what I love about Deinhardt. And Mike Grom, the Grommer, MG, my guy.
A little disappointed in Grom. I thought he was already a diehard.
Nah, he waited for the right moment in his life, and that's what Grom's always done. He sized it up, he sifted it out, and he struck when the iron was hottest. And that's why Grom has been able to advance in his life. And to my guy, the Vucci Coochie, who has been it's my guy. I don't know why you're walking anywhere, Greg. You met Vucci. You met him at a Cubs game, and Vucci became a diehard today. And you should be shouting out the Vucci, just like
Jeff Vucevic?
Not Jeff Vucevic. That guy should be with us too. Shout out to Vuk. But the Vucci Coochie is the man.
Please stop saying the Vucci Coochie.
Don't say that anymore.
All right, we got shout out Vucci.
Oh my God.
I still don't see that name. Why am
Because he's in
Who are you talking about?
Vucci does not watch the show live. He's a guy that is in the Carm clan, and he sent me a text today saying that he's a diehard, and I said I would give him love because he's a diehard. Joey Cavese, my guy. Now but you all better call him Vucci. Let's get some super chats in there, Ho, because we got to go in 3 minutes.
Go ahead and read Raul. We got to shout out Raul, my guy. Like how you just nicely skipped over Raul showing some love to me. I just became a diehard because of Meatball. Gotta support our fellow construction workers. Thank you, Raul.
And
all day.
Raul's a guy that
Blue collar.
Listen,
blue collar.
That's
Raul.
right, rough and tumble Raul. Love you, Raul. We your love of Braggs is questionable, but we love you back nonetheless. Brenton Stewart's in. Look at our guy.
In our chat every day. We appreciate you signing up. Appreciate your support all these years before.
Curtis Pop, are you kidding me? I mean, the king of rock and roll, Curtis Pop. That's a big time addition for us right there. Thank you, Curtis. We appreciate you.
We got supers. Chav, $4.99. True or false? Poles wanted to fire Flus last year, and again, end of Pat's game. Used TV as a safety net this year. Is mad because they didn't listen to him.
A lot of rumors about after the Patriots game.
I mean, you say it's true or false. We ultimately do not know the answer to that.
I'm going to say this, though. There were enough polls and interviews that if he really wanted to fire Matt Eberflus last year,
he didn't have to sing his praises as hard as he
sure
did.
went out of his way to sell you on it. And I just find that hard to – that man –
It was –
part of the reason why that man looked so defeated yesterday, guys, is because he genuinely thought they were about to have a really big season.
Right.
And
you don't think that if you also think you should have fired the coach in January.
And I think
that just doesn't add up to me.
I think he truly liked Matt Eberflus as a guy. And that perhaps clouded his judgment with Matt Eberflus. And I think it hurts his heart that Matt Eberflus is now elsewhere. Sending us notes. Chubbs82, $2. Trading picks for coaches is dumb. Thank you, Chubbs. $5 from Chubbs.
That worked out for the Broncos.
There are plenty of good coaches available, and we don't have to give up future prospects. Chubbs is conservative with his draft picks.
But you know what? I understand the point, but It's about getting this coach. You cannot get this wrong. So if you can guarantee that you're going to hire a coach, guarantee that he is going to be a good coach, you do whatever it takes to get that done, because you cannot spoil Caleb Williams and this roster over the next 5 years.
The Sean Payton trade, by the way, it was New Orleans got a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and the Broncos got Sean Payton in a third-round pick.
Yeah.
Manny V, $4.99, Bears fan from Connecticut, just became a diehard. Been listening to you guys over a year now. Keep up with the great work. That's what I love about you, Manny, because you're another guy that you don't just jump right away. You assess the situation. You figure out what's right for you, and then you move. And that's what I appreciate about Manny.
I like my dad ending the show with, of course they could get it wrong. They always get it wrong.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, you can't get this. What do you mean they can't? You'll be here for the next however long you're on this earth. They can get it wrong. They probably will get it wrong, and we'll keep on doing it.
Which is why Thomas Brown's the guy, because they did get that wrong.
Right. It's just take what fell into your lap.
Right.
Don't think.
Just like Caleb.
Yes. Don't think. Just know that you don't know anything.
Was it Potts who tweeted, hire the guy that you don't want to hire?
That's a great tweet.
That's what you should do.
Do the George Costanza, do the opposite. Tuna on toast. No more tuna on toast.
And I'm going to end on this because what I don't understand, and this is more in response to the don't give up draft compensation. Dude, NFL head coach is one of the most important, most valuable positions in all the sports. Coaching matters more in football. Second to getting the quarterback right, you have to get the head coach right. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what you have to give up in terms of money, draft picks. Get the coach. Not the coach. Get the next coach. Just get the coach and win a Super Bowl, for the love of God. All right.
Get the coach.
We're out of here.
Baldy tomorrow. Danny Parkins tomorrow.
Leading
off the show.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't know.
Big time Danny.
The crowd's already booing, and he canceled on us today, so I'll believe it when I see it.
If Danny isn't on the show tomorrow, he'll never work in this town again.
Okay.
You're really out over your
Final
skis.
warning, Parco.
All
right, we'll send this to him. We'll hopefully have contact with him tomorrow.
I said that Braggs might go at you for your goalie, and he straight laughed, as in, just like, you're a fly. $5 from Chubbs on the way out.
Sometimes flies can give you malaria.
You are a fly that doles out malaria. I can confirm. Sean McVay and Shanahan don't have winning seasons every year. Okay, Chubby. Come on, Chubbs. We'll take it. We will take every other year. I'd love every other year. Every 3 years would be nice.
Bye.
Boochie coochie.
We all silly like the mayor.